Hey guys, so there's been a lot of talk around the Fujifilm X-T5 and for good reason. Today is October 18th and the rumor has it that Fujifilm will be announcing this X-T5 camera in November. That's like less than 2 weeks away minimum, maybe a little longer. Not only announce, but ship in November. Now with the whole supply demand thing, shipping may be limited. It's probably, if you want this camera, you better put your pre-order in right away because if it's like previous releases from various brands, they'll have a limited production run and then you'll be waiting for a little while to receive your camera. But that's pretty big news. Fujifilm XT series is what put them on the map. It's their biggest seller. It's their bread and butter. They have the GFX, which is a great line of medium format. They come out with this XH series, but really the XT series is their biggest skin in the game. Here's what we know. First of all, the screen. Three-way tilt screen. Now, the Fujifilm X-T2 has this, the X-T3. X-T4, they moved to the fully articulating screen, the flippy screen, the one that goes all the way around. A lot of people hated that screen and really didn't upgrade to the X-T4 because of it. Me, I like them both. If I'm shooting photography, obviously the three-way is my preference unless I'm doing family travel video, because when I had my Canon M50, there was a whole lot of pictures with me in it because of that flippy screen. So there is some merit even in photography, guys, but a lot of it is for video. What a three-way flippy screen is, or the three-way tilt screen is, here's my X-T2. It'll come out. So if you're shooting down low, you don't have to jump on the ground, and you can go flip it this way to go at a high angle. And then it also, with this little switch, the release, you can do a vertical shot. What's nice about this versus the fully articulating, it's really incognito. It's quick. If you want to go down low, you just flip it with your hand, flip it out. Very easy. And again, it doesn't really have a lot of people looking at you with this thing flipping out all around. Both are good. I really wouldn't buy a camera or not buy a camera because one or the other, but a lot of people would. And reading through a lot of these comments, guys, there's a lot of people that feel this way, a lot of people excited. Here's the other thing. A lot of people are speculating that this camera will be retrofitted in the X-T3 body. Now, this is an X-T2, which is the exact same body, pretty much, as the X-T3. The X-T4 got a little bigger with the IBIS, so a lot of people are speculating that they'll take the smaller IBIS mech, in-body stabilization mech, from like the XS10 and retrofit it in the X-T3 body. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think that'll be pretty good because it's kind of what I was hoping for in the X-T4. It went a little bit bigger battery. A lot of people wanted the bigger battery. And, these batteries, they're not, I don't even have a battery in. Let me grab one. They're not horrible. If you're shooting a lot of bursts, what I've noticed, the first time I've actually wanted a bigger battery was lately. I shot at my son's school for an event when they did some outdoor sporting. They call it the field day for ROTC. And shooting burst and a lot of photos within a short time frame, you will use some juice. You guys probably know that if you're shooting Fujifilm cameras. Now, or really any camera for that matter. Outside of that, it hasn't been an issue for me. I typically don't spray and pray. I tried to get some really good photos of people kicking the ball and stuff. So you do have to kind of, unless you're really good, I'm not that good. So I took a lot of pictures that I didn't necessarily need to or wouldn't normally take. But typically when I'm walking around, for me, I flick the camera off. I'm just used to flicking it off, and it's really not that big of a deal. I keep an extra battery, and they're small. You can throw them in your pocket, and I'm good. Sometimes I go into that second battery, sometimes not. I go back to the hotel, and if I'm going to be gone all day, I'll take 2 extra batteries in a bag. But it's been working for me for multiple years. I bought this camera when it first came out, so battery wouldn't be a concern for me. But what would be a concern for me, guys, is this 40 megapixel sensor. If you've watched my other videos, I'm really mixed about it. Now, I said that 40 megapixels a little bit more than I like as far as size goes, for storage space, for workflow timing wise, I think that sweet spot is that 30 to 32, 33 megapixel for a couple reasons. One is workflow. Two is the legacy lenses. I got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, I think eight Fujifilm lenses, and most of them, if not all of them, will resolve at that 30 to 33 megapixel. So to me, that's that sweet spot. If Fujifilm came out with that 30, 33 megapixel sensor, that's a sweet spot for me. I don't do huge billboards. I don't do a lot of cropping. I try to get it right in camera. Actually, sometimes I crop too much in camera, and you can't really recover from that. So for me, there are many megapixels that I'll never use. I'm not going to zoom in. I'm not going to micro crop or anything like that. Some folks that do that, it is a good fit, and I get a lot of knock on my speculations and wants and reviews on specs that it's not for me. And I don't know, this 40 megapixel sensor, it's not really for me. I don't think it's for a lot of people, and I'm going to tell you why, guys. One of my big gripes on when I heard earlier rumors and news that the X8 series was going to come out with this new 40 megapixel sensor. Now, the early rumors had that the XT5 would get the same sensor as the X8 so that's why I was kind of watching that rumor. And I said then, and I still hold the true. Now, if we had some light gain, low light, high ISO gain, I'd be okay with it. I'll eat the megapixel overhead and I'd be fat and happy. I'm fat now, but I'd just be a little happier. And what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing by a couple people that have gotten this XH2 is the low light, unfortunately, on the high ISO has decreased a little bit, maybe not huge. Now, I don't have the XH series. I know a couple people, I've asked them, hey, if you could do a review. But from what I can see on a couple videos, and I'll leave this one video in the comments, a guy, Lee, that I watch his videos and I trust his opinion. It looks to me, just by looking at some of his photos, he has confirmed that it looks a little lower in quality on the high ISO, is maybe a quarter to a half a stop. Now, the Fujifilm X-T2 and the X-T3, X-T4s, they weren't horrible, but one of my big hopes and wants was for an ISO or high ISO improvement in quality, or if nothing else, stay the same and give us those extra, image quality pixels. And unfortunately, it looks like we are gonna take a step back from, in my opinion, what Fujifilm needs. Now, if you're a landscape photographer on a tripod, probably isn't a big deal for you. Most of what I'm shooting, I'd say about 70 to 80% is indoors or in a lower light setting, and I need that higher resolution or that higher ISO quality. And one of the reasons that I haven't really jumped the ship to full frame, I love Fujifilm. I like the mechanical controls. I like the experience with the camera, and I won't sell my Fujifilm camera. And I'm kind of watching what these other cameras are doing, the XT5, and I come close a couple times to buy an XT3, because XT3 is, and I thought about this a lot, it's like, okay, I love my XT2. The XT3 is just everything the XT2 is, but just a little bit better. And there's a couple that I'm watching. I still may buy one. Unfortunately, you can't buy a new one, and I want to buy a high quality one. But there are times where I'm going to shoot indoors, like this week and last week, where high ISO is important. Now, Fujifilm, and I don't have a Sony A7, what would it be, an A7 IV. That's the camera I thought about buying a couple times, and I've held off. But if you look at other people doing reviews on camera to camera, that's about a stop better in high ISO than the Fujifilm XT series. Now, again, this is an older one, but they were comparing like an XT4 and XHS, XH2S, which is very comparable. They haven't really gained any ISO, high ISO quality over the years. And I'm looking at those, and from some reviewers that I hold in high regard say it's about a stop and a quarter better. Now, all things similar, if you're taking, I shoot primes, right? So if I was to sell this camera and to buy a Sony A7 IV, what would be the comparable lens? This is a 23 millimeter f1.4, and a comparable lens would be a 35 millimeter f1.8 for the size. Yes, you can get a 1.4, maybe even a 1.2, but for the size, and I do like a smaller camera, we're talking a 1.8. So a 1.4 on full frame is something like a 1.8 to 1 or 2.0. So again, if I'm able to shoot a 1.4 and it's a stop worse in high ISO, I can gain a stop ish with using a faster lens, a 1.4 lens opposed to a 1.8 to 2 point. Again, it closes that gap. It's not perfect. I think the A7 IV will still beat it, but we're talking maybe now a half a stop. And the experience in me, and I love this camera, so to me that stop isn't that important. The stop isn't that important, all things considered. Now, if it gets worse, that gap starts to increase. Now, I'm going to hold off on really what I'm going to do. I said I'm going to pre-order this no matter what, but when I'm starting to see these high ISO step backs, it's really making me reconsider. Again, I'm good with the three-way screen. I'm good with even keeping the body. Actually, it's welcome to me to keep the body of the XT3, which this is an XT2. I really like it. I'm so used to it now. I've held this thing in my hand for years, and it just feels comfortable and it feels like home. So I'm good with all of those things. Of course, you get the faster processor and the faster focus. So if it came out as an XT3 body, it would be like on super steroids. So going from an XT2 to an XT3 would be like on steroids. An XT5, keeping that same body and everything the same, it's just amping it up even more. And the price range, if they did that, guys, the XT3, when they stopped making that camera, I think it was right around $1,000 to $1,200. Yes, they have a 40 megapixel sensor, but most people don't know you can't really get to resolve unless you buy all their new lenses. So what's it going to cost? Like $1,500, $1,600, something like that. I don't think that Fujifilm could really get away with much more than that. You figure the XH2 is at $2,000. Yeah, I guess they could go up to $1,800, but I don't know if it's that much worth it. Especially since the autofocus will probably be the same as the XH series. And I've seen a lot of bad reviews lately on the autofocus. And before you guys jump all over me to say they weren't working it properly and they're new, here's how I judge autofocus. You just hit the shutter release button or the back button focus, and the camera should do everything for you. It's 2022, no excuses, guys. I love Fujifilm, but you guys got to stop making excuses for them. Canon has figured it out. Even Nikon, for the most part, has figured it out. Sony definitely has figured it out. And Fuji, you need to get with it, because the XH2S seems to be, with that stack sensor, much, much faster and more reliable on autofocus. So where's that leave them as far as pricing? I think it would be a hard sell even at $1,800, given what I said. Maybe they're going to pull a rabbit out of the hat, throw 8K in there, sure, like the XH series. But I don't think too many people are getting too excited about the 8K. A lot of people like me don't even have a 6K TV. So you would take 8K and either archive it, downsample it, or use it for cropping. And I don't do any of those things. And I don't think a lot of people do either. You're talking about a massive amount of storage to hold those 8K files, the computer processing, all of that, which if I was a video guru, maybe, but not for me. So guys, I'd love to hear what you think. Are you excited? Are you hoping for the XT3 body? And what is that 40 megapixel sensor got you feeling? Is it like excited, or is it really kind of mixed like myself? Love to hear what you think. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night. Take care. Bye.